Welcome to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit, where the gears of global finance meet the force of geopolitical momentum. In early 2025, the U.S. Treasury issued a stark ultimatum. Global banks must either abandon Iran-linked oil trades, especially those routed through China and settled in Yuan, or risk being cut off from the dollar system entirely. As shadow networks fuel Iran's financial evasions and China ramps up Yuan-based trade, the stage is set for a high-stakes collision. From sanctions and smuggling to Yuan alternatives and U.S. blowback, here are the key developments steering this financial shift. The ultimatum that shook global banks. In April and May 2025, the U.S. Treasury sent shockwaves through global finance, especially targeting banks in Hong Kong. The warning was blunt: facilitate Iranian oil deals, particularly those routed through China and paid in Yuan, and you risk being severed from SWIFT, U.S. dollar access, and intermediary banking services. The move effectively conscripted foreign banks into acting as U.S. sanctions enforcers. Within weeks, 9 Hong Kong-linked entities were sanctioned for laundering oil revenues through fake shipping documents. Washington demanded full disclosure of ultimate beneficial ownership, putting pressure on giants like HSBC and Bank of China, Hong Kong, to unravel the shell networks driving Yuan-based oil transactions. By Q1 2025, over 54% of Hong Kong's $260 billion in cross-border settlements were in Yuan, not dollars, a signal that rattled Washington. The U.S. viewed this non-dollar pipeline as a strategic threat. Banks were warned: trace every Iranian link, even in Yuan flows, or lose dollar access. The result? A global financial divide now draws sharper lines than ever. But Iran wasn't just relying on bank routes. It was powering up an entirely different kind of engine. Iran's hidden financial engine: smuggling, shells, and sanctions evasion. Iran has mastered the art of financial evasion through a complex shadow banking network. On June 6, 2025, OFAC sanctioned over 30 individuals and entities, led by the Zaring Halam brothers, accused of laundering billions via front companies in Hong Kong, the UAE, and elsewhere. Simultaneously, FinCEN issued a red flag advisory outlining telltale signs of oil smuggling and illicit funding channels. These networks thrive on deception. Tankers frequently switch names and flags, disable tracking systems, and use false manifests like Malaysian blend to disguise Iranian crude. Payments are routed through layered shell firms and informal exchanges, obscuring the true recipients. The revenue funds Iran's military complex, including the IRGC, drone programs, and proxy militias. Barter deals, oil swapped for gold or industrial goods, are also common. Warning signs include suspicious paperwork, mismatched cargo data, and trade patterns that defy market logic. With state agencies like MODAF-L allegedly steering these flows, the U.S. crackdown is more than symbolic. It's a direct strike at the architecture propping up Iran's off-grid economy. Before we delve deeper, do us a favor: smash that like button and hit subscribe. It helps Piston Pundit reach more global auto and policy enthusiasts like you. Now, let's shift gears and steer toward Beijing's countermove. China's Yuan strategy: building a system that doesn't need the dollar. While Washington played financial enforcer, Beijing saw an opening and hit the gas. By March 2025, the yuan had climbed to 4.13% of global payment volume, briefly cracking into the top 4 currencies worldwide. That may have dipped slightly by April, but the trajectory was clear. China wants out from under the dollar's shadow. Enter CIPS, China's answer to SWIFT. With 170 direct participants and nearly 1,500 indirect ones across 119 countries, it's become the go-to transmission belt for yuan-based transactions. At the same time, China's central bank pushed its state-owned giants to settle trade in yuan, fortifying the shift. Meanwhile, UnionPay's QR code system is rapidly becoming the standard for digital payments across Southeast Asia, letting everyday transactions bypass the greenback entirely. And then there's the digital renminbi, the ECNY, quietly gaining steam in bilateral trade settlements from Laos to Pakistan. This isn't just about currency. It's about building a financial firewall. Beijing's strategy is calculated. Lay the tracks now, and by the time another sanctions storm hits, you're running on your own rails. But as China rewires its financial circuitry, pressure is mounting on the home front in the US. Economic whiplash, when US sanctions hit home. As Washington cracked down abroad, the domestic economy began showing signs of stress. By April 2025, consumer sentiment plunged near record lows, with inflation expectations soaring to 5.6%, levels not seen since the early 80s. Retail and wholesale profit margins shrank 1.6%, manufacturing job growth flatlined, and real wages slipped 0.3% quarter-on-quarter. Then came the One Big Beautiful Bill, promising retroactive tax cuts. But tucked inside was a clause raising withholding tax from 10% to 12.5% on countries seen as mistreating U.S. firms. Experts warned this could cut foreign direct investment by up to $91 billion annually, undercutting America's reshoring strategy. Add to that the tariff turbulence. Rates on Chinese imports whipsawed between 10% and 30%, freezing corporate planning and clogging supply chains. With businesses, foreign and domestic, pricing and policy unpredictability as a core risk, long-term investment began stalling. In trying to enforce financial dominance abroad, the U.S. may have triggered a domestic backlash, where instability at home becomes the unintended price of control. And as U.S. policy ricochets at home and abroad, the world is quietly rearranging the rules of global finance. Cracks in the system, the dollar's shaky future. The cumulative force of sanctions, shadow banking crackdowns, Yuan expansion, and U.S. economic turbulence is redrawing the financial map. Countries and corporations alike are exploring alternatives, regional currency blocks, bilateral swap lines, and central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, to reduce dependence on the dollar. On July 30th, 2025, the U.S. launched its biggest Iran-related sanctions package since 2018, freezing assets tied to Mohammed Hossein Shamkhani's global oil network. With 15 firms, 52 tankers, and 12 individuals targeted, it marked a major escalation. But some argue these aggressive tactics are backfiring. As confidence in dollar reliability erodes, more players are turning to China's CIPS, regional payment systems, and CBDC pilots to hedge against U.S. overreach. It's not a sudden collapse, but a clear drift toward a multipolar monetary future. As allies and rivals alike hedge their bets, the world is shifting lanes. The real question now, if dollar dominance fades, who takes the wheel, and what rules will govern the next era of global finance? And now, with the road forked and the wheels in motion, let's hit the brakes and take stock of where this journey leads. Verdict: the dollar's gamble in overdrive. In 2025, the U.S. threw down a high-stakes gauntlet: enforce the rules, isolate Iran, and pressure China, all in a bid to protect the dollar's lead position. But the unintended consequence: it's building the blueprint for a multipolar world, where financial traffic no longer merges onto a single U.S.-led highway. With China's digital yuan gaining traction, regional payment systems growing, and sanctions fatigue rising, the world may soon operate under a different set of gears. So now it's your turn. Do you think the U.S. overplayed its hand with these aggressive financial moves? Is the yuan, or any other currency, really capable of challenging the dollar's supremacy? And most importantly, how do you see this financial power shift affecting global trade and the future of energy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We love to hear from you. For the latest updates on the automotive world and more in-depth analysis, subscribe to Piston Pundit and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.